Medha. We are from Publicis Sapient, and I'm here with my co-presenter Swati. I'm leading the team of high-value accounts at Sapient covering the data spectrum. Yeah, Swati.
Just before we start to introduce ourselves, I'm Swati. I contribute as Manager Data Engineering at Publicis Sapient, building distributed data systems across industry domains, cloud computing, and working on multiple data platforms is my main area of focus and passion.
Before we dive deep into our keynote session today, which is how semantic layer actually brings in the simplicity to the data, clears the business complexities, we would deep dive into the what PS is all about. So yeah, Publicis Sapient is the digital transformation business hub of Publicis Group, which in itself is a leading marketing and advertising agency of the world today. As a part of this group, we actually guide our clients, we foster relationships with our clients, and we make them digitally enabled and prepare them for the future. So as you can see, we have a passionate team of about 20K plus across 53 locations. Next. Our purpose and our core values clearly defines what we are today. These are the core values of Sapient: inclusive collaboration, learning mindset being one of my favorites too, as I have been literally pushed and supported by the leaders here to upskill myself. I started my journey as a software architect, but here I'm leading a team of around 15 people. So Sapient thrives on these core values, which includes your inclusive collaboration, engaging with openness, learning mindset, embracing the future, and partnering with clients. Publicis Sapient represents the diverse backgrounds, experiences, disciplines. This actually fosters the sense of belongingness to us. This doesn't stop here. This fuels us to achieve our next.
So in Publicis Sapient India offices, we have a multitude of company-led and employee-led DEI programs, right? So the main concept here is to how we can celebrate diverse perspective in the workplace, and how we can encourage our people to have diverse opinion and celebrate it. So in Publicis Sapient, we have recently been recognized with multiple of rewards, right? So recent one being that Publicis topped the 2022 Steve Awards for its initiative in the diversity and the inclusion programs. Publicis itself has been conducting the Spring program for women techies, and we have been recognized as the top 20 in India. Publicis also has been recognized as one of the top 100 best companies for women in India. So, for example, this is Disha Balal. She took a sabbatical and she returned back to the workplace few weeks back. In Publicis, we believe in the idea that we need to hire and train people rather than the other way around. It's noticed that women, after taking a sabbatical, when they return back to the workplace, they have a level of low confidence. So having a proper mentorship program in place and encouraging them to return back to the workplace, we hire some of the great talents through this process. In my own journey with Sapient, I have been mentored by so many women leaders in my organization, where I could have the feeling that voicing the opinion at the workplace, having strong opinion, if the context is right, of course, is okay, right? When on a day-to-day basis, you are encouraged to bring your best, authentic self to the workplace, the first thing that happens is that the fear in you like diminishes in a longer period, right? Once that fear subsides, the one thing that you just need to do is to have the passion towards your craft, put in that effort, and then it's all about just spreading your wings and achieving whatever you want to.
So I think we have talked a lot about the diversity in our company. Now let's focus a little on data for diverse teams, which is enabled through semantic layer. Starting with this, I want to start with few stats. Close to 97% of the workers in most of the organizations are non-technical and they are not able to work with the raw data. For every 100 employees, finding data and building a story out of it is an issue. Close to 9 out of 10 of the most value-creating companies in 2022 were using the knowledge graphs. Now, as per these stats given above, imagine this scenario. You're sitting in a team. One member is bringing in the Power BI dashboard, the other the Excel workbook, and the third is a Tableau dashboard, and all dropping in their own revenue and ROI numbers. Isn't it confusing, right? It's not that businesses are not thinking through the analytical capabilities and agility, but the issue is they are doing this in silos. When they do this in silos, it creates a lot of problems. Problems like operational inefficiency, teams are not able to collaborate well. So to overcome these problems, IT also enabled a few analytical capabilities, but they were short of two things. First, it's very difficult to set it up. And second, as already mentioned in the stats, not every worker in the organization has that technical capability. So here comes the role of semantic layer. Now semantic is nothing but it's the relationship building amongst the entities. It's basically contextualization. Yes. So here I would like to give a simple example. For example, you're using a chatbot as an application. If it is not built on the semantics, then if you'll ask the question that what is profit, it will simply give you a dictionary definition. But if it is semantically based, it will give you the profits of your company at each and every vertical level per year. So chatbot is able to understand the context about your organization. Semantic layer is basically an abstraction layer which is built on your raw data, and it is very user friendly because now all the users across organization will be able to understand the KPIs in simple business terms. So here is a little about architecture of the semantic layer. So these four, the matrix layer, the data modeling, the access control, and the caching. These basically add the power to the semantic layer. The data modeling is the core, wherein all the calculations, all the data models, all the relationships are built. Then access control, the semantic layer uses the, it gives the accesses to the user as per their privileges, be it KPIs or the data sets. Caching further performs, make it more performant on the data sets and the data sources. And the last is API, the integration of all the APIs, building all the ETL tools, scripts on the semantic layer is very easy.
Now let's look into some industrial implementations of a semantic layer, right? Let's see a journey of a business entity being onboarded into an organization here. So the scenario here is a complex enterprise having data maintained across multiple sources, right? So let's suppose we are onboarding a business lead onto the organization. The marketing lead here might refer to this business lead as a prospect. The sales team might refer to the same business lead as a client, and the finance team will refer to the business lead as a counterparty. And you can see here that all these three different departments are storing their relative information into different systems like Salesforce, SAP, and Oracle database. Here, what happens is that in each of the separate departments, the definition of lead is specific to their own specific boundaries, right? In this scenario, it is not possible to have a lead to cash report. Sorry, there's some issues with the animation in the presentation, but I can just explain it. So here, in this complex data landscape, it is not able to generate a single lead to cash report which will span the data across these different data systems and identify this business lead as a single data entity, right? In this case, what happens? Semantic layer comes into place. Semantic layer is like a data abstraction built on top of all these complex data sources, right? And then using those abstractions, the data team can build their own queries and hit on the underlying data sources, which enables them to have a unique, single unified definition of a business lead spanning across all the departments in this organization. Hence, the lead to cash report would become a possibility. Now, moving on, let's say why semantic layer is important here, right? Semantic layer enables the business to look at the data regardless of the, to subside the dependency of the business user on an IT team, right? So every time what happens, the business folks need some insight, they are dependent on the IT team to get insights. Here, we are empowering them with their own self-service tools, BI tools, so that they can hit on the underlying data and generate their own understanding of the data. Let's talk about a marketing team, right? The marketing team are always under a lot of pressure of reducing their budgets for advertising and increase the ad campaign effectiveness, right? In this case, data plays a very integral role for them to select the right campaign at the right cost to keep the budget in place, okay? So what happens with semantic layer is that with having a universal semantic layer cut across different departments in the organization, data literacy is spread across the different sections. So here in this case, with the marketing team being empowered with data literacy and a little bit of training, of course, they will have the control on the solutions like the BI tools and start creating their own reports, correct? So what we are trying to imply here is that in a very complex data enterprise landscape, the actual users who benefit from the data, it's very unusual that they know where the data is, where it is stored, or what tools are there for them to have access to that data, right? So what happens is that with the semantic layer, they have a unified single business view built on top of the underlined two complicated data sources, right? And here we are showing as data consumers, there are so many tools that can be built on top of the semantic layer, and the end user does not have to worry how complex the data sources are, right? So here, the analytical empowerment happened when, for the businesses, there was a need to stop relying every time on data teams. The process was very slow, and sometimes the decisions were supposed to be taken very fast, right? In our experience at Sapient, while implementing semantic layer for various customers, what we have seen is that it helps to spread data literacy and impact the culture directly across organization. Let's say by our own example, how we span through data projects, right? In data projects, every department, the data science department, the BI department, the data engineering department work in silos, right? So the data science have a lot to do with the model prediction, feature engineering and stuff, right? And the BI department has to look into the KPIs, the metrics and so and so. But for the data science team, it helps to know what data sets the BI team is perceiving as important. Or for the BI folks, it is important to understand what patterns or anomalies the data science team have detected in that data set, right? So having a unified semantic, by having a unified semantic layer, it spreads that data literacy across all these different pockets of teams, and sharing and integrations of these most important data streams become so much easier with semantic layer, right? That's called data empowerment and empowering our business teams with the power of self-service tools. So here is a reference of a technical architecture, one of many examples that we have implemented for a few of our clients. Here the client had n number of domain data lakes, very complex like underlying data source system, and we helped them to embed a data abstraction layer on top of this complex system, right? How it helped them? It helped them to have a comprehensive and consolidated view of the data spanning across different domains in that organization. And they could make business insights, draw out reports much more faster than it would have been without a semantic layer. So on a closing note, right? So here the data landscape currently is going through a lot of dilemmas, right? Like here we can see like 3/4 of the data in an organization or a complex enterprise goes unused because everything is very scattered. The actual business users seldom know where the data is or how to take decisions on them. It's a common thing that 70% of the effort involved in data projects goes to data cleansing, right? Because there are so many multiple systems. Due to this decentralized data landscape, the companies work in silos, and which does not help the overall perspective or the core requirement of that organization. But with leveraging the semantic layer, with the right kind of universal semantic layer, it spreads that data literacy, and there is a common understanding of the underlying data entities there, right? It reduces the data cleansing effort because it provides the user with single source of truth and helps the data teams to do security and governance in a much more impactful way. On a closing note, this is a recent survey that was done for 100+ enterprise data leaders, right? It is found that companies that use semantic layer, there is a 4.2x improvement in results, because data is much more reliable, reports are much more quicker to build, while expending half of the effort on the data analytics. On that note, yes, we are done with the session, if there would be any questions.